Thanks so much for taking time to talk to us today.
Absolutely.
I first wanted to get your thoughts on the centennial celebration, and what would you what would you think your father would think about this moment? The fact that the series has not only uh, continued but really thrived and proliferated in all these interesting and unexpected ways. What do you think you would make of it?
Well, I got to say, my father was pretty humble, and he did fight. I'd say most of his later years in life trying to get his shows, and especially trying to get and keep Star Trek on the air. I mean, it was a battle. Of course, he finally got the original series on because Lucille Ball of Desilu Studios gave him a chance after he was rejected by everyone else. Then each season they tried to cancel him. Finally, they put him in the worst time slot they could, and the show was canceled. And then he spent years after that trying to get other shows off the ground. Then they tried to do Star Trek Phase 2, and that was going to happen. And then it wasn't. And then it was the movie, and that went up. So needless to say, my father fought to get Star Trek out there. And in reruns in the 70s, he was so proud of all the young kids out there, because your time around we're talking around Vietnam, and these kids believe in this better future, and they want this better future. He finally got the opportunity to do it with Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yeah.
And he would do this cute thing when he went on stage. At least this is what I was told once, is that he went up on stage and he folded his arms and he looked kind of across the room with a smirk, and he said, "Yep, just the way I planned it." Was his way of just saying, how the hell did this happen? I have
Yeah.
no idea. So for him to do that, and he passed away season 5 of Next Generation. I think they had been talking about Deep Space Nine, but of course he doesn't know what came after that. So I think he would be incredibly proud and blown away by what Star Trek has become today.
Now, you made this documentary, Trek Nation, and you saw a lot of the people that have been affected by the series.
Mhm.
What was one of the stories, or the story that most touched you out of all that work that you did on that?
It's crazy. For 25 years, I've had people coming up to me and telling me how Star Trek has in some way positively influenced their life, whether it's to be inspired to believe in themselves, or to get out of an abusive relationship, or to literally just be told that there is a tomorrow and there is hope and they can be anything they want. I've had people that say they're doctors, they're lawyers, they're teachers, whatever, because of Star Trek. One of the interviews that we never got, but I did speak to the lady over the phone during the whatever you want to call it, Desert Storm, during our war with Iraq, and me being a much younger, more naive individual, I was able to, when she was a young child, and I think sometime in the 70s, she and her friends saw 2 episodes of Star Trek, and I don't know which ones, but they both saw them. They all saw them, and they loved it, and they loved this idea of us being a united humanity. And there wasn't necessarily any fan clubs, but for her to say that she loved that future, and for me to be a fairly naive American, and we're at war, it showed that they're just people too. They're like us. I mean, stuff that you and I know and probably take for granted. It was such a beautiful commonality that I loved, that we could connect on this show, even though our countries were at war. And for me, that resonated. That was a powerful thing for me back then. I heard a lot of other things of people sneaking tapes over the Berlin Wall, but I have no accounting of that.
Yeah. If you, I know it's kind of a broad question, but if you had to sort of sum up what you thought the Star Trek philosophy was, what would you say?
The backbone philosophy of Star Trek is IDIC, IDIC. You've probably heard of it: infinite diversity from infinite combinations. It is the true appreciation for all things that are different, both in form and in idea. In Star Trek, there wasn't a crew of people flying around the galaxy trying to find aliens that look different. They were trying to find intelligent creatures in our universe that looked at the universe in a different way than we do, because we had learned at that point it was what makes things different. The things that are different are what make us special. They are how we can evolve intellectually. If we all thought the same things and never really chose to get out of our bubbles and see something different, we would never grow. And that was the whole thing behind Star Trek. Expose yourself to unique experiences and unique ideas. And not only that, through that, have empathy for the people and life forms that you interact with, to try to understand it from their point of view. That is such an incredibly valuable message in the 60s and especially today.
Yeah. Did your father ever talk to you about the interracial kiss and the controversy around that?
No. My father passed away when I was 17, and I was still pretty much a rebellious teenager. So
yeah.
While I remember some fun conversations as a young child, I was rebelling too much in my teens to really have an adult conversation. And I would argue that I probably wouldn't have had an adult conversation with him until I was probably into my late 30s. And I may not even be doing that now. We'll see.
So what do you think the next phase for Star? I mean, where can you take this concept of infinite diversity to? I mean, what haven't we seen yet from Star Trek that you think, where can it go from here?
That is a great question. There are a myriad of places. I think what they're doing with the Star Trek universe, and frankly, everyone's doing it in Star Wars and Marvel, the multiverse concept. There is an entire universe of ideas out there, and it just takes someone to get writers in a room together and start developing it. Right now, they've done such a good job at laying the groundwork at so many diverse kinds of Star Trek. You've got 2 animated shows, one for kids and one for sort of kids and adults. You've got Discovery, which is a little bit more on the darker, although it's getting lighter side of Star Trek. But that is now moved 800 years into the future. So what does that look like? You have the new Pike series called Strange New Worlds, which is going to take a little bit more of a traditional role and have those episodic sort of things where there is true discovery of new life and new civilizations. And then you've got Picard, which is bringing it home a little bit, at least to the next generation sort of group of people. I know they're kind of looking at the future of what that can be and what can go beyond Picard. So they've got tentacles out in all these areas. And there's so much room to move that as long as the quality is there in writing and storytelling, and as long as, in my opinion, the stories are getting people to see things from different points of view, or at least get them to think a little bit, I don't see a reason why Star Trek should ever go off the air.
Final question, do you have a favorite of the Star Trek series or a favorite episode?
For me, it's, I call it nostalgia, whatever. I was brought up with the Next Generation, and I love the Next Generation for many reasons. One of them being is the crew of the Enterprise D, Picard, Riker, Data, Worf, I can name them all. They work together. Leadership is shown, in my opinion, in the right way. You've got a captain who has put people around him that are the heads of their divisions and skillful and knowledgeable about those areas. And he asks them for their opinion every time there's a situation. He knows he doesn't know anything, and he trusts the people around him and then makes an informed decision. That is true leadership. That is a ship that I would gladly be on. Kirk would probably, end up doing something with an Orion slave girl, and someone would probably blow up that ship pretty quick. But Picard, I would gladly serve under him.